broadcasting around the world. This is the Hard Asset Money Show. Your wealth, your money, your future. Serious talk about what's happening and how you profit. Hosted by Christian Briggs. Follow him on X at BMC_HAM. Live in 3, 2, 1.
Okay, joining us now to discuss President Trump's announcement that he's pausing reciprocal tariffs is Christian Briggs, an economist and CEO of Hard Asset Management. Also joining us is David Hebert, a senior research fellow at the American Institute of Economic Research. So good morning to the both of you. Christian, talk to us about Trump's pause. It's pause and go on these tariffs. Do you think this was part of his strategy from the beginning, or maybe perhaps he's seeing what's going on in markets and he got a bit worried?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on the show. But I think there was a little bit more to it than just an average pause here. I think what happened was the bond market was starting to show some significant weakness. There was a lot of selling of bonds in Japan last night, as well as China the previous day. So there was a lot of pressure on the 10-year and some other the longer duration treasuries. What we're seeing is a lot of the China and Japan are needing the cash to support their own currencies and their economies. So during the tariffs, there were systematically ways in which that they could create liquidity to support both the yuan if they have to, or in this case, Japan wanted to support the yen, and their economies needed the money.
Okay, David, what do you think? Do you think this was the plan from the beginning, or Trump saw what happened recently and decided to change his position?
So it's really difficult to say that this was the plan, especially when we have mixed messaging coming out of the administration and his inner circle. Consider the fact that just a year ago, Scott Bessent said that tariffs would be a loaded gun on the table, but rarely fired. That's clearly not true. Consider that Pete Navarro said that we're going to use these tariffs to raise $600 billion in revenue every year. But other Trump officials are saying that this is a negotiation tactic designed to lower tariffs for all goods to 0%. And then we have different people in the administration like Howard Lutnick saying that these tariffs are here to stay, that there will be no pause, that there will be no delays. And Trump is saying that he was open to negotiations. And then finally, we have the European Union offering 0 for 0 reciprocal tariff diminishment, and Trump himself saying no. So I don't think that this was part of the plan because, frankly, I don't know that there was a plan to begin with.
Okay, Christian, do you think this pause, is it going to be permanent? You mentioned the concerns in the bond market.
Yeah, no, there's big concerns in the bond market. And I think what my colleague just said there was absolutely correct. There really is no plan. They're kind of weaning this thing as they go. However, there's an understanding or an ideology that we need to increase the playing field levels to where it's more fair on the trade partnerships. But there is really kind of mixed signals coming out of the White House. I have to agree with that. I think the pause is going to be temporarily put into place unless, of course, the European Union comes to the table. What I don't see happening, though, is China coming to the table anytime soon, not since they increased their tariffs even more than they did originally in 48 hours. So I'm not so sure there's an actual plan because it is uncharted waters, number one. And number two, the bond market, as Jamie Dimon said yesterday on the Maria Bartiromo show, there's nothing there that any investor can understand. And so the bond market is getting nervous right now. Interest rates are going higher or staying high at least. And that's not what Trump wants, especially with the renewal of $9 trillion in debt coming due this fall.
Okay, David, what should we expect in these 90 days of this tariff pause?
You know, I think that's going to be anyone's guess because, frankly, I don't know what President Trump is trying to accomplish with these tariffs other than some goal of lowering the trade deficit. Now, look, if he wants to do that, which, okay, that's a fine goal to have. We have tried and true measures of doing this. Ronald Reagan succeeded in the 80s in lowering our trade deficit by not by protectionism, but by deregulating manufacturing, by lowering taxes, and by increasing the availability of American exports on the world stage. This is what President Trump promised during his joint address to Congress just a few weeks ago. And so what he really should do is double down on this and get away from these tariffs. What we're seeing with this capricious tariff policy is that the world market is reacting. They are refusing and frankly trying to run away from investing in America because no one knows what the rules are going to be with tariff policy. And so if President Trump wants to increase direct foreign investment, which he should, foreign investment is what pays for our factories, it's what pays for our national debt, he should try to increase this. What he should be doing is getting away from these capricious and ill-timed tariffs and moving toward deregulation and lowering taxes. This would launch us into a new stratosphere of manufacturing. It would lower prices. It would boost wages. And if all of that sounds familiar, it's exactly what President Trump promised on the campaign trail and has yet to deliver.
The Hard Asset Money Show will be right back after a word from our sponsor. Let's take a look at how the rare coin market has skyrocketed in the past 2 to 3 years, specifically proof gold, and how their performance has done after Christian Briggs, CEO of Hard Asset Management, put an immediate buy recommendation in late 2019 on United States proof gold. Specifically $20 St. Gaudens gold pieces, $20, $10, and $5 Liberty proof gold, and $10 and $5 Indian head proof gold. According to PCGS Price Guide, an 1849 $20 grade proof 64 plus was valued at $20 million in November 2021, and today it is worth $25 million, a rise of $5 million in less than 4 years. On April 2024, a 1921 $20 satin strike grade SP58 was valued at $750,000 according to PCGS Price Guide. Today, it is valued at $2.2 million, rising $1,450,000 in that span. Follow on X at BMC_HAM for all news and the latest developments.
Christian, what do you think?
I can't disagree with that because right now, if I was a foreign investor looking to bring manufacturing back to the U.S., I'm not sure what the regulatory environment is. Are the tariffs going to be partially put in place? Are they going to be negated because maybe I bring $10 billion or $20 billion? I know that Trump is so pro-business and so pro-manufacturing from a domestic and international level that he's got deals being done. But right now, the environment is a little quasi, do I go left, do I go right? The bottom line is we have to pay the debt down. The tariffs are used to increase productivity, manufacturing opportunities here, but it's also to increase revenues. Right now, the revenues are not sufficient enough with the understanding is to pay the debt down, and the tariffs are being used to lower taxes, which will increase GDP. That's always good. People love low taxes. Increase manufacturing by lowering the dollar so our widgets become cheaper, as China's been doing for years. With the yuan, by devaluing the yuan, they obviously offer a lower cost manufacturing environment. But right now, and I have to agree with the colleague again, David, that this is in an interesting environment right now. And if I was both an international investor looking to do something in the U.S., I'm not sure what I can do yet. The White House needs to get real clear on the messaging, determine whether the tariffs are on or off, and then what are the tariff percentages? Increasing these things by the day, it spooks people a little bit. And that debt, Trump's real worried about the debt, and he should be. So I think a pause of maybe a day or two, figure out the plan, then come to the market with something that's more cohesive.
So David, the tariffs generating revenue, that could go towards paying down the national debt, and that's a good thing, isn't it?
So look, Pete Navarro says that these tariffs, that if Trump actually enacts them, will generate $600 billion per year in revenue. That sounds like a lot of money to people like you and I, and it is. But consider the fact that Congress spends over $600 billion every single month. Okay, so this is not some massive magic bullet. This is not some big thing that's going to even move the needle a little bit. This $600 billion doesn't even cover the $1.8 trillion in national debt that we're going to add just this year through deficit spending. So yes, I completely agree. We need to get this national debt under control, but this is not a revenue problem. This is a spending problem. If the American household ran their budget the way Congress does, they would have $435,000 in credit card debt. And then to say that this is a revenue problem, that's ridiculous. This is a spending problem. We need to get Doge, unleash it onto literally every aspect, let the sun shine, and find all the ridiculous spending that's going on. This is not about coffee mugs in the Air Force or toilet seats in the Pentagon or anything like that. We need to tackle spending, and we need to tackle it now.
Okay, we just have a bit of time left. We have to talk about the tariffs on China. Christian, what would you say the 125% tariff on China right now? How much of it is about protecting American manufacturing, and how much of it is about trade negotiations, or how much is it just Trump not wanting to back down?
Okay, that's a great question. Well said. It's all of the above. The number one thing you've got to look at are two primary problems that China's been doing ever since they were allowed to get into the WTO, the World Trade Organization. They've done predatory selling, which is below cost manufacturing, to be able to hurt and to circumvent various rules and understandings within the WTO's guidelines. They came in with aluminum and steel, which is some of the biggest two elements that are used in any kind of manufacturing of construction. They've been doing that for decades. They also do a devaluation of their currency artificially, and we just hit a 20, 25-year low on the yuan. So these are things that they've been doing willfully to undermine U.S. manufacturing, which is also a byproduct of undermining U.S. sovereignty with the dollar. So Trump is trying to say, okay, that can't happen anymore. I'm just going to do layman terms here. We've got to create a playing field that allows us to be able to recoup $1 trillion a year in trade deficits. So the tariffs are being used to negotiate that, level the playing field. But at the same time, what really has shocked the market was China not coming to the table so quickly. In fact, they didn't come to the table, they raised their tariffs from us. And that's what's interesting about that is they basically said, we're willing to go the long mile. Because remember, China plays the long game. They're not interested in quarters or quarter centuries. They play for decades and decades. So I was really surprised, but not as much as some, that China basically told Trump, we're not negotiating anytime soon.
Okay, David, you have 30 seconds. Final thoughts.
Yeah, so look, trade restrictions on China are just not going to work. And I agree with my colleague here that something needs to be done against China. Trade restrictions are not going to work because U.S. trade with China only comprises about 7% of their international trade. They are so incredibly internationally diversified that they can afford to lose even a titan like the United States as a customer because they have millions of trading partners around the world. So this whole tariff strategy against China is going to fail. It's only going to increase costs for Americans, and it's only going to decrease our dynamism as small manufacturing startups lose access to cheap Chinese manufacturing.
Okay, David, Christian, thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Look at how the rare coin market has skyrocketed in the past 2 to 3 years, specifically proof gold, and how their performance has done after Christian Briggs, CEO of Hard Asset Management, put an immediate buy recommendation in late 2019 on United States proof gold. Specifically $20 St. Gaudens gold pieces, $20, $10, and $5 Liberty proof gold, and $10 and $5 Indian Head proof gold. According to PCGS Price Guide, an 1878 $1 J1553 RB grade proof 65 plus was valued at $2,250 in October 2023, and today it is worth $190,000, an astronomical rise of 8,344%. On September 2021, a 1907 cent grade proof 68 was valued at $7,750 according to PCGS Price Guide. Today it is valued at $100,000, rising 614% in that span.